Welcome to the Science of Seer Stones video. The information in this video was found in a book by Brant A. Gardner. It is entitled The Gift and Power, Translating the Book of Mormon as pictured above. Came out in 2011, and it's specifically from the chapter 21. How did Joseph Smith translate using a seer stone? All right, first statement here by Gardner. He says, the most common method that Joseph Smith used to translate the Book of Mormon was to place the seer stone in the crown of his hat and then put his face in so as to exclude the light. So this part of the video, I actually agree. And pictured above, we see Joseph looking into his hat. All right, Gardner continues. Joseph Smith began as a village seer. Not sure why he calls him a village seer. Haven't heard that term before. But he began as a village seer, understanding that he could see things with a stone that others couldn't see. Well, that was Joseph Smith's claim, and Gardner believes that claim because he's a true believing Mormon. I'm not going to go too much into who Gardner is. He's basically an apologist for the church. He speaks at the fair Mormon conferences. He writes apologetical works like The Gift and Power and also a commentary on the Book of Mormon. Pictured above is one of the church's pictures of Joseph Smith and his hat. Notice how all he has is his hand kind of on the top there to exclude the light. It doesn't show him sticking his head down into the hat. All right, so if you want to know more about who Brant Gardner is, just go to his Wikipedia page or go to his Fair Mormon page to look at his education, etc. This is just going to be a short video, basically to test your bullshit meter, as shown above. Can you detect that the stuff that Gardner claims to know about how Joseph Smith used the seer stone, can you detect that as the bullshit that it is? All right, so how was Joseph special? Well, he had a special kind of a brain, according to Gardner. He says Joseph Smith may have possessed a type of visual recall where he could recall and see images of data in his mind. So he had this kind of a special brain that most people don't have. And this slide here is not exactly what it says in the book. I kind of condensed it there. But you can see this picture of all kinds of things going on in the brain. Well, maybe Joseph could see words and images in his brain. All right, so how could Joseph Smith see in a rock the translation of the Book of Mormon? Well, Gardner claims to know, and he claims to tell us, or at least his best scientific hypothesis based on the research that he has done. Basically, our brain's ability to run visually in reverse, its generative capacity, and the ability to retain vivid mental images provides the basic answer to how Joseph could see in a rock. So Joseph had this special kind of generative capacity in his brain. He's bringing it back, more to a scientific understanding of the brain, not any kind of divine powers that God has. So if you don't have the type of brain that Joseph had, that means God can't give you the same kind of translation information or the same kind of words or images in your brain. Well, I thought God was all powerful and could do anything. All right, so Gardner continues to explain this scientific process. Some people are more capable of this process of visual generation, and when their visual input is altered, they can reverse the visual system and generate a vivid image. They can see when they should not be seeing. They can see in an inert stone. They can see in the stone. And Joseph Smith could see things in the stone or in his brain. He doesn't really quite explain why the stone is even there if he could just see it in his brain, but He says, Joseph Smith was primed to see things. So let's put our bullshit detector on here. Let's see. The content of what the person sees ranges from the explicable to the mysterious. Ooh, you can see mysterious things in your brain or in the stone. In many cases, the content of the generated vision is related to what the seer is primed to see. Ooh, so God must have primed Joseph Smith. Experiments in priming suggest that it occurs on a subconscious level. Wow, that's just so fascinating. I wonder if Gardner received a revelation from God, understanding that Joseph Smith was primed and that he saw it on a subconscious level. All right, my bullshit meter is maxing out on this one. The very foundation on which the charlatans create their charade of looking into crystal balls are practices of the more sincere and betimes effective seers. So there's fake charlatans and then there's real charlatans in a way, or people that are not charlatans. But they use the same foundation that the charlatans use to create their charades of looking into crystal balls. But some of the seers, like Joseph Smith, they're more sincere and more effective and can really see things in their stones or in their crystal balls. But the charlatans can't. All right, regardless of the means by which they saw, what, like a seer stone or a crystal ball or a divining rod, the means, I guess, regardless of the means, the village seers both saw and were correct enough times that others were willing to believe. So Joseph Smith, he's saying, was correct enough times that others would believe. Well, as far as I know, he was never correct. He never found any buried treasure with that seer stone. The only time he found anything is probably when he planted it there. I think there's a story that he found a pin from Martin Harris. How easy is that to plant? Never found anything of value. No gold, no underground mines. And Joseph Smith actually got in trouble as a glass looker. It's Joseph Smith versus the people, a case here. Preliminary trial, I think they call it. They called him the glass looker. This case was on March 20, 1826. He got charged for a misdemeanor. To my fees and examination of the above case, $2.68. So we have documentation of Joseph as a treasure digger or a glass looker. Gardner talks about the crystal balls. Basically didn't see anything and was getting in trouble for telling people that he could see things and having them pay him to find nothing. All right, so before Joseph used the seer stone to translate the Book of Mormon plates, he used it for money digging. So I'll read a few of these. We already went over the March 1826 case. Joseph Jr. is tried as a glass looker in South Bainbridge, and he takes leg bail. Fall of 1826, Joseph Jr. and Samuel Lawrence seek treasure in Harmony, Pennsylvania. Spring of 1820, Joseph Jr. leads a money-digging company in Palmyra. He found his brown seer stone digging at the Chases, I think, in a well. Joseph Sr. and Jr. money-digging company boards with the Hales in Harmony, Pennsylvania. That's November 1825. August 1827, Joseph Jr. promises Isaac Hale, that's Emma Smith's father, who did not like Joseph Jr. because he saw all of this treasure digging and stone gazing. So Joseph Jr. promises Isaac Hale that he will give up the stone gazing and money digging. And then you can read the other ones and where the translation of the Book of Mormon golden plates kind of falls into this timeline. All right, back to Gardner. Seers, like Joseph, saw something and provided the best explanation that was available to them. So Gardner makes it sound like here that there's other people like Joseph that have this same ability, that can see into crystal balls, they can see into seer stones. All right, another hypothesis by Gardner. What is the hypothesis? That the pre-language of the brain holds the answer to how Joseph Smith translated the Book of Mormon. Ooh, yeah. It's got to be the pre-language of the brain that made it all work. All right, divine intervention implanted the plate text into Joseph's brain in the brain's native pre-language. Ooh. So I guess God couldn't do that to me because I don't have the right type of brain. Only these special seers have it, I guess, huh? They're the only ones that have the right type of native pre-language. Divine intervention implanted in Joseph's brain. And this process, Gardner claims, is pretty much similar to what a linguistic translator does in the real world. He says this process is not completely unlike what occurs in the mind of a linguistic translator who reads from a different language and creates a translation. Really? He's trying to make this all seem realistic, all scientific. Nowadays we have Google to translate for us anyway. We don't really even need linguistic translators anymore. All right, so Gardner continues to tell us how it went down. How did Gardner figure all this out? Did he study a lot of brain research? Did he get a revelation? Is he sure? Are you sure that's how the seer stone works? Are you absolutely sure? The Lord implanted words and understanding in Joseph's subconscious mind, effectively creating the foundation on which Joseph constructed the language that he dictated, but Joseph would have been unaware of the process itself. But now Gardner is aware of it because of how far science has come. Science has finally explained how crystal balls and seer stones work. Wow, we've advanced so far. But of course, Joseph Smith and his contemporaries around him didn't understand any of this because they just didn't have the scientific knowledge. But now we do. So therefore, Joseph Smith was only able to describe the process in terms of the gift and power of God. So he never explained any kind of words or images appearing in his brain. He used these other kind of charlatan techniques of looking into the hat, and he explained it that way. Joseph Smith never explained any of this stuff. Not even in a rudimentary way. He never talked about words and images popping up in his brain. He could have simplified it. He doesn't have to explain it all scientifically. But anyway, simply the gift and power of God. Instead of saying gift and power of God, why didn't he just say words and images in the brain? He could have said that much. All right, let's continue with the bullshit here. My meter is maxing out. I think the needle is ready to break off. Because this process occurred in Joseph Smith's mind, which he didn't say anything about, the conversion of thought to language had access to his normal vocabulary, his grammar, and cultural context. Well, I think Joseph Smith was pretty much terrible at grammar, so I'm not sure grammar was in his brain, was in his mind. Yeah, he did have vocabulary, he did have cultural context, and it's interesting to note that the Book of Mormon's cultural context is the 19th century. So, all right, so take it for what you will. Meaning from the plates was translated into modern idioms because they were the tools of Joseph's linguistic capabilities. Yay! Meaning from the plates was translated into modern idioms. Yay! I'm glad we know that now. Common English idioms. Cat got your tongue. Snug as a bug in a rug. Go the extra mile. Butterflies in my stomach. To go down in flames. Once in a blue moon. So that's how it went down, people. A second process turned this subconscious mental language into a visual image. Joseph Smith saw the translation when his normal vision was sufficiently distorted. See the picture? His normal vision sufficiently distorted or limited in ways that he could see the mental image better. So you have to distort or limit your vision, and then you can see things in your brain. So when you're looking down into the hat, you're not really seeing anything in the hat or in the stone. It's just to kind of limit your normal vision, distort it and limit it, and then boom, all of a sudden, what? Words and images start popping up in your brain. Joseph Smith really read, but not from the stone. Joseph read from the inside out. He got words in his brain and read them off in his brain. He's not even seeing anything with his eyes. He's just seeing in his brain, seeing words in his brain somehow. Wow, I'm just so glad that Gardner has finally explained this to the church. All right, another way to test your bullshit meter, go watch Brant Gardner's talk, his Fair Mormon talk from 2011, entitled The Gift and the Power, Translating the Book of Mormon. So probably after his book came out, he gave a talk at Fair Mormon. You can find it on YouTube. Just type in that title, or you can type in the whole YouTube address. Of course, Gardner is pictured above. I could have added more of the bullshit from this talk. There's a lot of bullshit in there as well, but he's kind of repeating the same ideas, and you know what? I just don't want to spend any more time on this because it's a waste of time. Arguing with these apologists is a total waste of time because most of what they say is bullshit. And that's going to do it for this video. And we thank Brant Gardner for finally clarifying how the translation process went down. Why couldn't one of the many Mormon prophets have explained it to us before? Couldn't one of the modern day prophets, couldn't Nelson, Hinckley, or Monson, one of these guys, get a revelation of told us all this great information long before? We have to have the low-ranking apologists explain this crap to us that have no authority, that don't speak in general conference. Why couldn't the real authorities tell us? Well, thank goodness for the apologists. But anyway, that is going to do it for this video, and I thank you for watching the Science of Seer Stones video.